Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and by popular demand, we are expanding the subject of murals throughout the entire summer. Yep, all summer long, you'll hear from master muralists to learn the tips to creating a thriving business painting large scale. I have handpicked each interviewee based on their expansive knowledge of the mural industry so that you can learn from the absolute best. Plus, I'm throwing in some of my own mural tips within solo episodes, and if that isn't enough, I've created a full training for you all about how to grow your art business quickly using murals like I have. If you're listening this summer and thinking, okay, let me see what this mural thing is all about. Or if you're wondering if you could even create large-scale paintings too, then go to artistacademy.co to learn how you can start making money in the mural biz. The majority of my income comes from murals, and I want to help you get started too because I know how profitable they can be. You'll go to artistacademy.co to claim your free training, and I hope you're having a fabulous summer. Today, we're doing another episode solo about one of my favorite subjects, which is traveling. And to add to that, we're going to talk about how to get these traveling mural jobs that look so glamorous on Instagram, what my experiences have been like traveling and painting, and how I've gotten those jobs or those volunteer opportunities, and just different travel stories. I've been to 7 continents, and I have a couple funny stories I want to just share with you about the glamour of travel, and also talk about the future, about where we're going to have our future mural meetups. We had one in Iowa last year. We're going to have a mural meetup in Missouri this year, and then we're going to have it in some cool places the next coming years. We're talking about Alaska and Florida and Europe in 2023 and Southeast Asia. And so we're going to talk about how I plan on making that happen. How am I going to bring together a bunch of Artist Academy muralists over in Europe when I'm over here, and how am I going to plan this based on my previous, traveling, working experience. So we're just going to talk about it. So we've talked about this already in the Academy a couple of weeks ago, and there's a full proposal for them, and to just send out to people. You just plug in your own information. It's the same proposal that I have sent out to New Zealand and different places, and what I'm going to send out to future things for the mural meetup. I basically just gave it to Artist Academy students, say, hey, you can try this too. Let me know how it goes. Have fun with it. Pick a place in your mind where you would love to go. And I challenge them to do this. So I want to challenge you too. I bet there's an ultimate travel destination in your head, and you're like, oh, but there's no way I could plan anything there. There's no way I could go there. That's too far away. Or for some reason, you just haven't gone, whether it be money or time or whatever. Just put that destination in your head and let's just dream for a second while we go over the possibilities. And I tell you what I've done, and I want to make it go from just a thought and a dream in your mind to, by the end of this, I really hope that you think, man, I can do this too, because you can, and I want to help you. So think about that dream destination. Think about what it would be like to sit down wherever you're imagining, whether it's a chair in Italy eating pizza on the coast of Napoli or whatever, or you're on a beach in Bali or wherever it is. Bali just happens to be my new dream destination. I've been to a lot of places, and Bali is my next step where I'm like, I have got to visit this place. So I'm making it happen. But yeah, so we're going to talk about it. But first too, I want to just outright say this, and that travel is amazing, and traveling for your work is really awesome. And I've done it for a variety of years. And whenever I painted for an outdoor store, we painted all over the United States and Canada. And I spent a lot of time away from home. And it looked very glamorous on Facebook and Instagram and all of that. And it was really fun, especially for the first day or the first weekend when you're there. You get to go exploring. However, traveling is amazing, but it's really also about the people you're with. It sounds really cheesy, but that's something, and I'll explain a little bit as we go along, that I've really learned throughout my time traveling with a variety of different travel buddies. And it's really about your family and how often you see them. So before you decide that you want to be a full-time traveling muralist and you want to do that full-time, I want you to dream big about your dream destination, but I don't know. I don't want to be a full-time travel muralist. I don't. And just to explain that even more, I've done that, and you miss out a lot on what's going on at home, your friends, your family, the so-and-so's, party, their baby shower, birthdays. You miss out on a lot, and you're gone a lot. And often you can't take all of your friends and family that you love and your pets with you. And there's good and bad to working on the road. And I bet if you talk to anybody who works and travels regularly, like say they're gone every week, I don't know, that it's rare to find someone that would love it all the time. It kind of gets a little boring after a while, which is why I've settled into this little groove of I really like to go to places maybe once every 2 months to go work somewhere. Like I just got back from North Carolina and painted a mural out there, and it was fun and just see new stuff. But I don't want to do that every week. It's something I like to do every now and again. So that's my goal. And so I just wanted to start by sharing that. It's awesome. Traveling's cool, but who you're with it's everything. So yeah, let's talk about the Worldwide Wings project. I started this project because honestly, I saw Kelsey Montague doing it, and I was like, well, if you don't know who that is, just check her out on Instagram. She inspired my wings. She inspired a lot of my photo op art. She has a very specific style. I'm very different from that, but there's a lot of similarities in what we do. Wings, photo op art, all of that. And she travels full time, and they love it. She travels with her sister, but I remember when I interviewed her sister on the podcast about a year ago, she had mentioned, she's like, yeah, this lifestyle isn't really sustainable, as in whenever we decide to have kids, and I don't know if they're married or not, but have a huge family, it's not really sustainable. And I remember her saying that through all the other great advice that she gave on the podcast last year or the year before. I don't know, it was a while ago since we talked to the Montague sisters, so I was inspired by them and just seeing them go, and they've done stuff in so many different countries, and it looks amazing to do all this travel, and it just looks awesome. But I know deep down that doing that full time is something that would not make me happy. I really like spending time with people. Okay, I feel like I'm just like running that point into the ground. But I started the Worldwide Wings project because I had thought that maybe that's what I wanted to do. I was thinking about maybe I want to be a traveling muralist. I want to go and paint wings in all these different countries like Kelsey Montague. I was a big fan. And so I started that. So one of the first places that I painted wings was in New Zealand. I was planning on going there anyway. My husband and I, or my then boyfriend and he's now a husband, we were going to New Zealand, and we went to Australia for a week, and then we went to New Zealand. And so I was talking to him about it. I'm like, I have this crazy idea. Like, I want to just start painting all over the world, because I was already traveling all over the world. I've traveled at that point. I had maybe traveled to 30 countries already before I had the idea, hey, maybe I should start painting in all of these countries that I'm traveling to. It took country number 30 for me to actually think of that idea. Dang it. But whatever. Now it's almost, I think I'm country 40 now, so 10 later. and lots of revisits to Mexico in between. But now, anytime we go somewhere, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I might go pitch to someone to see if I can, trade something for a mural or, paint something somewhere. But that started with New Zealand. And how I got that job was I just looked up in Queenstown, New Zealand, which is one of the major, well, not really major city, but one of the main cities that we were flying into. So we were already going to be there. I just sent out a proposal email to the school there just saying, hi, I'm an artist from the United States. I paint butterfly wings, and since I had already painted one in the United States, I just sent them a photo of that, and I just made this proposal. And I said, hi, I would love to come and paint something for you. These are the days we're going to be there. Would you like that? And they responded, I think within a few days, maybe. But I remember being pretty quickly. I said, yeah, we would love that. What do you need? And I said, okay. So I just said, if you can provide the paint and the wall, then I will come out and paint for a day. And also if the kids want to have a little, fun with it too, if they want to come out and learn some stuff about butterflies or help paint, I am totally down. And they said, actually, there's this plant that needed to be planted around gosh dang it, it's been so long, so I can't remember the details exactly, but there was this plant that people around Queenstown were wanting to plant because it attracted the butterflies. And so they were like, if we could paint this type of butterfly, that would make, bring awareness, and maybe people will try to, plant more things to bring the butterflies back. And so it's like, perfect, that's awesome. So we talked a bit about that, and that's just how it happened. I showed up. It's kind of nerve-wracking, to be honest. Whenever it was my first one that I had painted outside of the United States or Canada, that I was like, hey. So we just showed up, and the principal was like, hi. And she was kind of equally like a little like, okay, like you're here. Okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm here. Let's paint. And so then we just started painting, and then everything would just flowed. It was great. We talked to students, and we got some video, and then I just made a quick little video. I was like, this is what I'm doing. And I don't know where the next one is going to be, but as I'm traveling, I'm just going to start painting murals. And from that first one, I did it for free, and just to get it started, because that's how I know to do things. Just show people what you can do, and eventually they'll start asking for it, but really just physically like showing someone exactly what you want to do, exactly what I wanted to do and be known for. That's how I got it started. And from that one mural, people started saying, oh wow, she paints all over the world. And I was like, whoa. I've painted one, excuse me, but I'm not gonna say no. I'm not gonna be like, no, she doesn't. But like in my head, I'm just like, okay, I painted one free one in New Zealand one time, but people started saying, they were like, she paints stuff all around the world, and it made my brand expand. So whenever you're thinking about your dream destination and you're thinking about doing this pitch and being like, well, it's for free or whatever, and just think about that. Think of it as your brand. The better you can make yourself seem, like it's like, typing something up on a dating profile, you're going to put your best foot forward. It's just like that with art. The more sought after, the cooler or whatever you can make your brand seem, or you can make yourself or more important or better skilled or whatever, then that's going to get you more jobs. And I noticed just from that one, people started saying that, and I started to be a little bit more sought after, because anytime I would do another butterfly in Missouri, so I did one at the zoo later, they would say, wow, you have one in New Zealand, don't you? And I was like, yes. They're like, that is so cool, because now we have one here and we can say that the one's in New Zealand. And it's a huge branding element to that I wanted, but I didn't really realize would happen until I did it. And then the second one came about because we did it in Thailand. So I was like, okay, I'll just send this same proposal over to a couple, places in Thailand. And so it's just funny thinking about it. So I did that and got no response. Sent it to a couple places that I knew we were going to be and got zero response. And I was like feeling a little disheartened. I was like, why? Like, well, okay, whatever. So we just decided to go over there. I didn't bring any paint with me, but I was just like, okay, I told my husband, now husband, then boyfriend, like, hey, I want to paint in Thailand. We're going over there anyway. Let's figure out a way to make it happen. So we go over there, and it's funny because the places that I had sent proposals to, we actually went there. It was this elephant sanctuary, and we got there and we just looked at each other and we're like, no shit, they didn't respond to an email. Like, this is not, it's not a place that has computers readily available. It didn't even really have a good wall. I just didn't know. So know your demographic, I guess, when you're proposing to all these places. But we made it work. One of the last days of our trip, we were kind of, feeling out a couple different spots. Well, maybe we could pitch it there, maybe there. We just started walking along the beach at this really popular long stretch of beach area in the morning, and we got up with that intention. It was like, okay, today's the day. We're going to find a place to paint. And we walked along the beach, and there was this guy sweeping stuff off of the beach, and I go, hey, is that your wall right there? Is that your bar? It was like it was Moonlight Beach Bar on, what's the island? I can't remember, but no, I can't remember. But this was like 3 years ago. And I was like, he's like, yeah, that's my wall. And so I had pictures printed out. We brought a proposal with us. We were not relying on email anymore. And so we brought it with us. And so that way I could visually show them, hey, I can do this. Can I do it on your wall? And he goes, yeah. And I remember my husband being like, okay, great, let's go. And I was like, well, wait, do you own this? And he was like, shut up, let's go. I was like, okay, so we're going. So we painted a blue butterfly on the cement wall right next to the ocean, right in this high traffic area. And we hashtagged it World Red Wings, just like the other one, and then went home. And more people started talking. They're like, whoa, you have one in Thailand. That is so cool. And then the next stop was South Africa. Same type of thing. We actually knew some people over there, and I was like, hey, I would really love to do it at a school, because then, it's for the kids, and we had a really great experience with the first school we were at. I'd rather not do it at a beach bar. I'd rather not. So we had some connections over in South Africa with people that we knew, and so they helped connect us to a school, and that's what we did it again. And we went out again and just talked to the students. A couple students helped, and it was a great day. And then we did one in Iceland. So Iceland also worked the same way as Thailand. I sent a couple proposals and got nothing. So we brought the paper with us, and as we were going all around the island of Iceland, we went from west around to the east. We went to Hoffen, Iceland, and we were just looking around. We're like, okay, this is the day. We've got to do it. And it wasn't all that warm there. I think it got up to like 50 during the day that day, but we just went around, and we finally were just going around this tiny, tiny town. I mean, there could not have been more than 1,000 people living there. And I was just like, hey, we want to do this, we want to do that. Anytime we saw a wall, we would just go into the office and say, hi, this is what we're doing. We have locations now in 3 different countries, or I guess 4 in the United States. Do you want to be the 5th one? It's for free. It's just a fun thing. Just provide the paint. And they're like, a couple people said no. And then finally we had one guy say, hey, there's this wall back here. You can do this one. And I was like, okay. And the kids came by again, and it was great. And actually, the power of TikTok that's when TikTok first started coming out. So this was about 2 years ago when I got on TikTok, and the kids came up, and they were like, hey, you look familiar. And I was like, yeah, are you guys on TikTok? And we started talking about it. They're like, we've seen you. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, you're on our For You page all the time. You're the girl that paints the butterflies. And they were like little just kids, because we all know kids were on TikTok way before any of us. And so yeah, that's how that happened. And so I did all of this with the intention of, okay, if I just do this enough, it's not only helping my brand of people thinking, wow, she's doing all these great things, or like doing all these cool things that not a lot of people will do. Because to be honest, like, not just to be real, not a lot of people will go and do something like that. They'll think about it, like you'll dream about your perfect destination and you'll maybe make a plan, but just to actually go do it, it's kind of tough. So but I was doing it, and so that's what helped the brand. And just I was doing this to not only do that, but also be like, okay, eventually someone's gonna hire me to do some wings, and they're gonna pay me to go to these places, but I need to show them what I can do first and build my brand up to that point first. And now people are doing that. It took a while, but I flew to California last summer and painted some wings out there and paid for, all expenses paid for. It was great, very profitable. And then I just got back from North Carolina, painted some worldwide wings out there for just, it was like a street art piece, and for these people who wanted to beautify the city, much like I have done with Springfield, or am trying to do. And yeah, there was one also in Maine that I was supposed to go, but then COVID hit and that really just messed it all up. So that's not happening, but I am sure I will get another one. And so it's starting to happen, slowly but surely starting to happen. So also, I want to tell you a couple travel stories before we get into like the pitching thing. And if you're hearing me talk about this and you're like, oh my gosh, that's my dream or whatever, you're like, that's what I want to make happen. I want to point out that I started traveling when I was about 19. We took a girls' trip to Mexico, and that was the start of my travels. My parents did not travel with me. I think my dad took me to Florida one time, which was cool. But other than that, we went to Branson, which is family fun. And I am not complaining about that. But we went to Branson for the summer and rode some roller coasters and stayed in a cheap motel. And I was happy with it. It was great. But if I wanted to travel the world, I knew that I was going to have to fund it myself. And there are also some tips to where traveling does not have to cost you a ton. The first big trip that I took was basically a solo trip to Europe for 5 weeks. I was about 23 years old, just out of college, and I just had high ambitions. I wanted to go to Africa. I wanted to go to Europe. I wanted to go to Australia. I wanted to get out. I grew up in a really small town, and I just wanted to see the world, and I was just very curious. And so I was researching and I was reading a bunch of blogs, and they're like, you can go through Europe this was, I guess, 7 years ago. Actually, it was 7 years ago exactly, because I just saw an update on Facebook that reminded me about that. But 7 years ago exactly, they're like, you can go through Europe on $30 a day. Now it's probably a little bit more, $40, $50 a day through Europe, but that is totally possible. And it's possible if you stay in hostels, which I have done, and I highly recommend. Now that I am married, I don't know so much, because I think we might want our own room. But back in the day, I was a 23-year-old, and I do not care if I was in a bunk bed and there's someone else there. So a hostel. And I've stayed in hostels in Thailand, all over Europe, just so many, even a couple in the United States. I love hostels. I just love them so much, especially if you're solo traveling or traveling with friends. It's just an amazing experience going into a place where other travelers are there just like you, doing the exact same things from all different types of all around the world, all these different personalities, but we're all connected through curiosity and adventure. And it's just the most amazing experience to get to meet people in a hostel. So I know that several people are listening who have kids already, and they're like, this is not my thing. But for the people who are listening who maybe this might interest you a little bit, I just want to say that I have never had anything stolen from me in a hostel. And I've slept in rooms where there were 20 beds in a room, bunk beds, and I'm a hard sleeper, and everybody else is in the same boat as you, Like, we're all in it together. We're all on an adventure, and it's just a really cool experience. I've never had anything bad happen. through traveling. It's all been good. And there's been so many people, trust me, my dad included, it's like, why are you doing this? It's not safe to go by yourself. It's not safe to go with people you barely know. It's just not safe. And I'm just like, okay, like if I am going to hang out in Springfield or any place in the United States, in California or the coast, it's the same thing as going around Europe or going anywhere. The only place that I felt just really like I pushed it a little too far was I went about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I volunteered to go teach art at an orphanage in Africa, and I went by myself. And prior to that, I had gone places by myself, but I'd always, met people that I kind of knew over there. So Europe, I met people that I kind of knew. One girl was in my art class. We kind of knew each other. Another guy we had met, and we kind of traveled in a group. And then we met other people as you go along too, and you travel with them. But Africa was the first time that I went by myself, and I don't really like going just completely solo. There's so many people who love it, but I really like having someone watch my back as we're traveling along. But yeah, that was the first time where I was like, I just felt a little uneasy just being so completely out of my element. I've since been back to Africa with my husband and with friends that we met over there. It's perfectly fine. Nothing happened either time. It's just, that was a little too much. But my first, just almost solo trip where was around Europe, and as soon as you get over there, as soon as you get the flight over there, you can use Scott's Cheap Flights. So go to scottscheapflights.com. This is not an advertisement. This is just what I've used for years, and you can get on their mailing list. And actually, just today, I found a flight from Chicago to Ireland for $300 round trip. And we have booked from Atlanta to South Africa for $500 round trip. So we just take a short flight to Atlanta, catch that flight, come back. I've booked $500 trips round trip from Dallas to Argentina and New Zealand, Europe, and I've booked so much with Scott's Cheap Flights. And as long as your itinerary is flexible, and you know where you want to go, and you just I just keep a lookout. So every year, like coming up, I want to go back to Southeast Asia. And so everybody, I just tell everybody, I'm like, hey, if you want to go with us, let me know. And I will send you an alert whenever we buy our tickets, because it'll be on a Scotch Cheap Flights deal. So if you just go to Scotch Cheap Flights, you'll know what I mean. But basically they send you an alert, and you have to book within 24 hours because there's a flight deal that's happening for whatever reason. Sometimes it's a mistake fare, but I say my parents did not take me to travel, and I do not stay at 4 or 5-star hotels. I stay at hostels. I get flight deals. There is a way to do it without breaking the bank. If you're the type where you're like, no, I really want to go to an all-inclusive resort, well, then maybe that style isn't for you. And I have some friends who that's the way they want to travel, and we've just agreed to disagree. I'm like, no, I would rather stay in an Airbnb or at a hostel. Nowadays, it's more Airbnb. I went to Havana, Cuba, and I booked just a spare bedroom in somebody's, house that was like $40 a night in the best part of Havana. And then you get to meet the family when you're there, and they cook you breakfast. And I think it's amazing. There's just so many ways around traveling why people think it's so expensive. It doesn't have to be. We stayed in some amazing hostels, like some that were $5 a night or €5 a night. Some were 20, but most are like $15. Yeah. Airbnbs are just a way to stay, in homes rather than be a tourist in a hotel and whatnot. Yeah, there's so many things that traveling does not have to be expensive to go and just get experiences. And I highly, highly recommend it, because seeing all these other cultures all around the world, it opens my eyes to so many things. Just seeing how someone lives and how the way they live over in Southeast Asia, people over here in America wouldn't even consider living like that. But I think it's so cool that they live like that, and they eat different foods every single day that some people over here have never tried. It's just, It's awesome. I did not a solo trip, but with a couple people that I'd kind of barely known again. Like I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna go to Thailand for 30 days. I'm just gonna go backpack. I just took a backpack and I booked a flight. I was like, whoever wants to go with me can go. And so a couple people were like, okay, I'll go. And we ended up meeting people in the China airport on the way over there and hitting it off with them. And they ended up traveling around Thailand with us the entire time. And now we're lifelong friends. And we were over there during Thanksgiving. So we had like a Thailand Thanksgiving over there where we made rice and curry and all the stuff and just all of these awesome experiences. And we all just, it's cheap. It was really cheap to do. Okay, so, and for cost, so I think I probably spent, so we didn't do quite the $30 a day in Europe thing, but I think I probably spent about $1,000 a week in Europe, to be honest. And that's including the flight over there and, round trip flight back and wherever, all food and everything. In Southeast Asia, we went to Thailand, I went to the Philippines. It's more like, I want to say $500 a week or less, including the flight over there. It's really cheap. As soon as you can get over to Southeast Asia, the flight is the longest thing ever, but it is the most magical place. Everybody asks me where my favorite spot to go is. Southeast Asia, hands down. I've been to the Philippines a couple times, Thailand a couple times. I'm going to go to Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. All of that is on the list, and I just love it so much. Bali's on the list. It's just, if you can, and we will have a mural meetup in Southeast Asia one day. It's going to happen. So how am I going to make this happen? How are we going to have a mural meetup in Europe in 2023, which is going to happen, by the way. So it's not happening next year, but it will happen the next year. And we're going to have a bunch of mural meetups everywhere. So if you are not one to try to plan the travel and, do all this, just join in on our mural meetup. All you have to do is be a member of the academy and I'll plan it for you. So how am I doing this? How am I going to plan this? Basically, kind of the same way I've always done it. I'm just going to send a bunch of proposals. So for the mural meetup, I'm not just going to go over there and hope for the best while all of you meet me over there. That's not going to happen. So I'm going to pull the connections that I've made throughout my travels, and there's a lot of them. I've friended hostel owners. I've just a bunch of friends along the way that I've met, and I'm going to try to pull a connection and see, if someone has stayed somewhere that they really love over in Europe or Southeast Asia that they would recommend and put me in contact with. That's going to be the first thing I'm going to try. Second thing, and I was talking with Renee, who came out to North Carolina to help me paint a Worldwide Wings mural here recently. It was raining and we were sitting in this little space, just kind of daydreaming, and we were both, in North Carolina, away from home. And so I was like, you know what? I want to make this happen in Southeast Asia. And she's like, how are you going to do that? And I was like, okay. I joined this group of people, trying to find places to stay over in Bali. And so I was like, maybe if I just post something in there, post a bunch of photos of murals that I've done, or, the Artist Academy working on murals, I'll get a bite and someone, will exchange free stay for a mural. And I posted it and nothing happened. So, but basically things like that. I'm just going to get creative. I'm going to go post in Facebook groups. I'm going to go find the businesses that are online and might be new or might be older and might need a mural to revamp their style over there or something. I don't know. I'm just going to start going. The internet is amazing. The internet is the only tool you need to do something like this. So as long as you can get a contact of someone, just send them your handy dandy proposal. Again, the proposal is in the Artist Academy already. You guys have it, the same one I'm going to use, and just send it over and have it focus heavily on what you can do for them. How coming over there and painting a mural is going to be beneficial for them. And so I will explain how I've done this in other places, and it has, increased foot traffic. it has gone viral. So a couple of my butterfly wings have gone viral. And so people will see that and travelers will want to go to that destination. It's the same thing with photo op art. It's the same pitch that I make. It's people will see this and come to your location, and that's your pitch in so many words, in so many professional words. With you guys here, I'm just like, yeah, do that and say that, but it's more professional in the proposal. And just send them out, see how it goes. That's what I'm gonna do, and it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. So trading your time for someone else's time or someone else's product or whatnot. So saying I'm gonna go and say I'm going to pitch this to a hotel or an Airbnb or something and say, hi, we are a group of artists and we are coming over to paint a mural in your location, and we're wondering if you would like to have this mural in your location. These are the benefits, and this is what I would trade. We're going to trade free stay, or if there's a fee on top of it. So pitching it to a place like Bali with the currency conversion, we might not get very much. So my pitch to Bali will probably be that, hey, we'll trade free stay for doing a mural for a week. And actually, speaking of, in October, I forgot to mention this, in October, we'll be going down to Cozumel because, again, someone saw that we travel and do murals, and they're like, hey, I have a condo down there. Do you want to come paint a stingray on my wall? And you can stay down there for a week, and you can use my dive gear if you want. And so me and my husband are doing that. So we're going to do that for my birthday in October and just go down there. It's going to take me 1 day to paint, and we're going to have a free week stay. And you better believe that I have these alerts set on Google Flights and Scotch Cheap Flights to, as soon as I see a flight deal come up, that's when I'm going to book it. I'm not booking it right now because they're like $500 from Springfield to Cozumel. I'm going to wait, and there will be a deal come up, and that's when I will strike on it, and that's when we'll book it. We'll have free stay. It's basically like a free vacation or a very low cost vacation. And that's that. So I hope I have inspired you to go out and go pitch and live your dreams and all that cheesy stuff. And just to know that if you don't want to do this, then you can just join us for one of the mural meetups coming up, where next year we'll have one in either Alaska or Florida or both. And then we're going to go and do one in Europe and Southeast Asia and yes, and something in that order. So, yep. So just put it out there. You never know. And just, use your connections. There's also, I forgot this too. I painted a mural, like a small mural in Ischia, Italy. It's an island off the coast. And it was through that first 5-week, Euro trip backpacking experience. And we were going over there. Italy was our second stop. Went to Greece, Italy, and then 8 other countries in between. And I was talking to the hostel owner. I was like, hey, yeah, I'm an artist. And he's like, will you paint something? I was like, I mean, yeah. And so he got some paints for me. He gave it to me, and I painted on his wall. And I signed it, and I put the year. And so I painted on his wall. There's a painting of mine in Ischia, Italy, because that's just what happens when you talk to people, and you never know. And here recently, too, actually not recently, about 3 or 4 years ago. So I painted that over there 7 years ago, and then 3 or 4 years ago, so 2 years later-ish, I messaged him and I was like, hey, you might remember me. I painted on your wall. If you ever need any more paintings, I would love to trade, free stay, and I'll just paint while I was over there. And, you just pay for my food too. And he was like, okay. And I meant to do that, and I just never did, because I don't know why. I just never did. So I was like, okay, I'll let you know. But he was completely for it. He's like, yeah, come stay. You can stay at my place, and it's hostel and paint. And so there's so many things out there that are possibilities. And start with the free pitch. Start with the trading, time for all that, or trading stay or whatnot. And eventually you'll get paid for it. And that's just how it works. So start sending out proposals, start putting yourself out there, because it's staying as just a thought inside of your head is doing nothing. Or if anything, just like plan a trip to Mexico and then just look for spots over there to paint, and just tell someone, hey, if you pay for my lunch, I'll paint this for you for this afternoon. Like, people will go for it, I bet. Just have a conversation with people. Okay, that's it. I hope I've inspired you, and yeah, I hope you guys have a great week. I will see you next week. Just another reminder that I have created an extra special training for you to learn how to grow your art business quickly using murals like I have. If you're listening this summer and thinking, okay, let me see what this mural thing is all about, or if you're wondering if you could possibly paint large scale too, then go to artistacademy.co to learn how you can start making money in the mural biz. The majority of my income comes from murals, and I want to help you get started too, because I know how profitable they can be. So go to artistacademy.co to claim your free training, and I will see you next week.